Hi, I am Joanna Jane Eamandron from BS Abi 1A. So this is my reflection about the film Social Dilemma. People are starting to realize the dangers of current social networking sites. Through the help of the large part of Netflix, new documentary entitled The Social Dilemma, which features interviews with former employees of today's most popular social media platforms, many of whom were integral to the early development of this company. In the documentary, they sound the alarm about the many ways in which social media controls and manipulates us. From the film, it was stated there that our attention is the product. The social dilemma tells us that many social media corporations succeed by collecting us as much of our attention as possible and then selling that attention to the highest bidders. As the saying goes, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. According to Tim Wu, a Columbia Law School professor and author of the book The Attention Merchants, defines the attention merchants as business whose model is selling access to the people's mind. He says that the attention industry needs people who are in the distracted state or who are perpetually distractible and thus open to advertising. According to Wu, the social dilemma has a long-term factors that led to an epidemic of distraction sickness. This is where you are unable to concentrate and you constantly lose your attention and your time. An epidemic where you lose your hours of the day clicking on random nothingness. Addiction is built into the design of social networking sites. The social dilemma points out that many social networks exploit human weakness by designing with something called positive intermittent reinforcement in mind. Moreover, the social media for teens is actually changing their brains, say the technology and psychology experts interviewed for the documentary. Addiction to the social media is one of the biggest topics addressed by the social dilemma, and the adolescents are particularly vulnerable to the dopamine high produced by constant scrolling and notifications. So here are the four concepts described in the social dilemma that highlights the negative effects of social media on teenagers. So first is persuasive technology. This phrase refers to the ultimate goal of the artificial intelligence or AI that powers social media by tracking users every click. The social media AI, which is embodied in the documentary by actor Vincent Cacheser. Second is fake popularity. Fake brittle popularity. In the words of Kamath Palihapitiya, Facebook's former VP of Growth is one of the biggest negative effects of social media on teenagers. According to him, teens place a great value in the short-term rewards, just like hearts, likes, thumbs up, and so on. But receiving the superficial recognitions leave them feeling even more vacant and empty than before. The never-ending search for online approval has become a pervasive form of social media pressure that starts to dig deeper and deeper down into the brainstem and take over kids' sense of self-worth and identity. That is according to Thurston Harris, a former global design ethicist and co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology. The third is snapshot dysmorphia. This new mental health issue is an outgrowth of the insidious link between social media and the body image. Because social media is so focused around appearance, it triggers body dysmorphia in teens, especially in girls. In response to the unrealistic standards of beauty perpetuated by social media, adolescents become hyper conscious and hypercritical of one or more of their physical features. In the documentary, a dramatization shows a young adolescent becoming fixated on her perceived defect after she posts a selfie and one of her friends makes a comment about her ears. And lastly, the digital pacifier. The social dilemma points to growing evidence that teens as well as adults have lost their ability to calm and solve themselves with real world reflection, activities, and relationships. Instead, they deal with challenging emotions by turning to the social media for distraction and entertainment. This is another way in which addiction to the social media takes hold and draws teens away from more enriching experiences. A whole generation is more anxious, more fragile, and more depressed. That is according to the psychologist Jonathan Heath, PhD, says in the documentary, commenting on the exponential rise in teen mental health condition and suicide since 2010, when social media and smartphones become prevalent. So upon watching the film, there are a lot of things that I learned to protect ourselves from its manipulation. So first is by developing healthy social habits. Do things that can limit a screen time to avoid screen exposure and radiation. It is better to turn off the notifications. Know what tasks you want to complete on social media and don't get sucked into the infinite scroll. And when social media is making you feel anxious or depressed, then take a break. And lastly is call for social media regulations right now. There are a lot of few recent regulations to focus on data privacy. It's a start. But according to Christina Podnar, a cybersecurity expert, that we need to go further. So as a student, I learned that we need to utilize social media in proper way. We must be responsible over social media. And I believe that the social dilemma is one of the leading voices for redesigning the way that the internet and social networks work for us. And I thank you.